With us now is State Attorney Mike Satz. A pleasure to have you back on the show, sir.
Always good to see you.
We are witnessing interesting times in history, but law enforcement remains a priority in our civilization in general. What's new in law enforcement?
Well, there's a lot of things, as you mentioned, going on. The shootings in Dallas and the shootings in Louisiana and the shootings in Minnesota. It's a question, and there seems to be, a lack of trust between law enforcement and our communities. And that's something we have to do something about. We've been working on it, and there's a lot more to be done. That trust has to be reinstated. It's so important for the safety and the welfare and the quality of life of all our citizens in this country.
How interesting it is that political correctness seems to influence society to the degree that it gives individuals, hooligans, a pretext to feign outrage on things that occur in another state. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends on what you're talking about. The situations, the shooting in Louisiana, and the shooting in Minnesota, are concerns, to everybody, whether you're black or white. It's a very serious situation. It has nothing to do with, political correctness. It has to do with what's right. And when a police officer makes a mistake, anywhere in the country or does something illegal, it affects law enforcement all over the country.
Absolutely, sir. How has technology influenced law enforcement?
Well, it has really helped law enforcement, and I think really helped the community, like body cameras. I think that's so important for all police officers, patrol officers especially, to have, because it adds to the transparency. It shows everybody what's happening. It helps build trust, and it helps the police officer document what happened. It prevents he or she from getting accused of misconduct when it's recorded, and the same thing for the citizen who encounters a police officer and alleges misconduct, and there it is on the camera, and it proves their allegation, and you can weed out the bad police officers, because the great majority of police officers are hardworking, dedicated men and women. The few that commit illegal and bad acts reflect on all of them. So body cameras is one thing that I think has helped as far as technology. As far as helping law enforcement solve crimes, cell phone technology and how you can track the location of someone. So a situation where a baby is kidnapped or a child is kidnapped, you can trace that phone, real-time tracking to help locate the kidnapper. DNA has really helped law enforcement, ferret out crime and provides real strong evidence in court. So those, areas of technology I think are a great boon to law enforcement.
Throughout your career, sir, you've been noted as a very dedicated crime fighter, prosecuting crime all your life. What are the highlights of your career from your perspective?
Well, I think the fact that the crime rate is the lowest it's been in 40 years. I'm very proud of the people that work for me, both lawyers and investigators and staff people who are very diligent and very conscientious and work every single day, long hours with heavy caseloads to do the right thing for the right reason with compassion and dignity. I think I've told you before at some of our meetings, 61 of my past assistants have become judges, both federal and state. Just recently this year, one of our young lawyers, the Broward Bar Association Young Lawyers section, awarded her with the Paul May Professionalism of the Year Award. And one of our assistants, Sarah Murphy, who's in charge of our county court division, won it last year. So they're special things, seeing our assistants who work very hard, make a mark on our community. And I think we all work so hard to not only keep our community safe and ferret out the people that are victimizing, human trafficking, sexual battery, murders. That we work so hard to protect the public and putting those kind of people behind bars. Yet at the same time, my people have a lot of compassion in dealing with people who have mental health problems and drug problems, addictions, to make sure that they stay out of the criminal justice system and get help. Always looking to enhance the quality of life in our community. And I think they're kind of the highlights.
Some people say there's an erosion of morality, and in this perhaps excessively permissive society, anything goes. People get away with things that are very questionable, often shirking responsibilities, hurting others that way. How do you see this thought of perhaps an erosion of values and responsibility in society?
Well, I think you see some of it. I wouldn't say that the values of our communities are eroding. I mean, you see examples of it, with people involved in human trafficking and hurting our most fragile victims, like the elderly and children. You see that. I don't think that it's something that just has come on the scene. I think it's always existed. It's just that I think that our community is more alert and more aware of these things and report them, so it becomes out in the open that law enforcement's able to attack it appropriately and make sure that our fragile populations, children and the elderly, are protected. Years ago, when people weren't aware of what was happening, things like that never got brought to law enforcement's attention. For instance, now in schools, the teachers know what to look for, neighbors know what to look for when they see, an elderly person maybe getting victimized. They, report that. There's hotlines. People are more aware now of human trafficking. It's not new. It's an item that's on everybody's mind now because of people alert as to what's happening, and people are becoming more informed. So I don't think it's a lack of values as a whole. I think our communities, most people, try to do the right thing, every single day and lead good lives. At least I hope that's the case.
For those in our audience who are not sure what human trafficking is, please explain.
Human trafficking is a situation where a person or a group of persons takes advantage of someone. For instance, the typical example might be that you lure someone from, let's say, Eastern Europe, and you say, well, you're going to get them a job over in this country to be a dancer, or get them a job in school, or help them with their education, and they come over here and you imprison them, or you force them into prostitution, or you force them into labor, or you get someone from a poor country who's trying to come over to make some money to help their family and send money back, and you force them, almost keep them captive in forced labor. So that's, typical example, and we've just convicted a man who got these young girls involved in prostitution and wouldn't let them out of it, and was profiting off their pimping them as prostitutes. They got 45 years in prison. So law enforcement is working that very carefully to make sure that people, very fragile people, aren't being victimized.
Changing topics to get another unpleasant one. More than ever, it is said that America is subjected to the threat of Islamic terrorism and other terrorism. What are your thoughts with regard to how that should be addressed from your standpoint?
Well, any kind of terrorism, obviously, whether it's domestic or foreign, has to be addressed. Law-abiding citizens, in any country, as you see in France, are very vulnerable to people who want to take advantage of them and hurt them for various reasons. So any kind of terrorism has to be addressed, and it has to be on top of every law enforcement officer's mind.
What can be done in general to increase public awareness with regard to values and relationships between citizens and law enforcement officers?
That's something we all have to work, and that's, when we started the conversation, that's something that has to be addressed very carefully. There has to be a trust and do away with certain perceptions. What we try to do is meet with the cadets. We've done that. Leaders in the community have met with cadets at the police academy to try to, show them, a different light than that they may be exposed to as to how the community perceives law enforcement. And we've met with the instructors at the academy, and we've discussed and tried to get on, programs how to deal with the community. If you're demanding, respect, you have to give respect. It's a two-way street. I think the community and law enforcement have to come together. It's something, that we have to work at very carefully, especially with young people. Right now, there's programs going on where the road patrol officer is meeting with young kids, and they're sharing ideas. Some groups of young kids run towards the police when there's trouble, and then there's some kids that run away from the police when there's trouble. And we have to, do away with the perception that the police are evil, and we have to, help the police understand where the community's coming from. We have to do away with what's happening in our communities. Young black men are being killed, police officers are being killed. We have to come together and make sure that these things do not happen.
How nice it would be if there were programs implemented that would encourage young people to do some compulsory annual service, where they would help in old age homes, orphanages, pick up litter from the streets, and just get a feel a little bit, a week at a time, of what it's like to have to be part of society. Such a program, I think, would contribute enormously to the values of individuals if they actually had a hands-on experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that any experience a young person has, that's a good experience, a positive experience, helps them, in life. And community service is always a good thing. The most important thing is education. When somebody gets an education, it helps them with their career. It's so important, especially in their future life. So education is really key, and law enforcement is working, very carefully. For instance, the Promise program in schools. Instead of arresting a kid in school, a child in school who commits a misdemeanor that is not a nonviolent misdemeanor, instead of arresting them and expelling them from school, they go to a program within the school. They're not being expelled, they stay in school. They're allowed 3 incidents before an arrest happens. And that's a good thing. The recidivism rate has gone down. They stay in school. We had noticed that when kids are expelled, they're not getting education. They can get in trouble on the streets. Car burglaries were increasing, home burglaries during the afternoon. Staying in school, education is so important. Just talking about some of the things you mentioned about, values. When you have an opportunity to get a good education and an opportunity to exceed, you see biases and prejudice disappear, because that's what, in my opinion, what bigotry is. You know, it's a lack of knowledge of how other people are and how they lead their lives. I think that's so important.
Absolutely. Sir, if I may ask you, what are your plans for the future?
Well, right now I'm running for re-election, so hopefully I'll be here for a while. I think you know, this job is very important. I think you need somebody you know, that has a lot of experience and has performed well. I think the people who work here have a lot of experience and have performed well. I really enjoy working with the people that I work with and have worked with in the past. You know, we do a lot of good things to protect the community and help to enhance the quality of life. I think it's something that has a great purpose, and I want to be part of that purpose.
It's been a real pleasure to have you on the show again,
Always
sir.
good to see you, sir.
And it is wonderful that we have dedicated individuals and leaders such as yourself in this essential role.
Thank you.
I'll be right back.